On November the 23rd, Carl Froch climbs back into the ring, not for a third showdown with Kessler, not to avenge his defeat to Andre Ward, but to face a young Englishman with just 19 fights to his name and a reputation that defies his 25 years on this earth. So when you think which one's the most interesting to talk about, to talk to ahead of this all-British showdown, there's only one answer, and it's Mr. George Groves. How you doing, George?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Apologies for being the only Murray Meets guest we've had so far that I haven't shook hands with, but here's the problem, Bunsey. I've got something sort of disease this week.
Yeah.
I don't want to be the man that brings down George Groves ahead of the fight.
You're absolutely right. And in all fairness, I hate being around fighters in the 2 weeks before, 3 weeks before, if I'm feeling ill. When my kids were young, sometimes I couldn't talk to fighters for 3 or 4 weeks. Couldn't go to a gym because for 5 years I had permanent sniffles, so I couldn't interview fighters for 4 weeks. Because if I come to your gym, I talk to George Groves, and he comes down with flu, and his man Adam Booth's on the phone to me screaming blue murder.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a bit of a controversial first question, George. What do you think when you're training for the biggest fight of your life, and the world champion that you're trying to take the belts off is dancing on ITV?
It's fantastic. I think it's going to make for a better fight, isn't it? He's going to show us a bit of footwork this time round. He's not been well known for his agility inside the ring, but he clearly is working at it, and he's doing well.
Do you think that's why he's taking it? So it's not a diss to you. It's not saying I don't need to train full on for this fight. And you know, Carl may well be training full on for this fight, but he's in a dancing couple. You can't just turn up and do the cha-cha. You got to put in 12 hours a day to do that. Do you think maybe he's done it actually because he's got a lot of respect for how you have so many dimensions to the way you fight? Is it a bit like when Rocky had to catch the chicken?
Yeah, maybe. I don't think he's 100% concentrating on this fight. He's openly said that he hasn't shown that much respect for me and the achievements I've had, and that I've managed to get myself into a mandatory position so that I forced a fight with Carl Froch. He's talked about wanting to fight other fighters, fighting Mikkel Kessler for the 3rd time, and we've seen it twice already. We both know that they like to punch each other. Let's see if someone else can have a go. So, you know, I'm stepping up, but he's at that stage now where he is crossing over into becoming a celebrity, and you know, hopefully he doesn't become civilized like the celebrity culture and end up dancing his way.
Will you watch it?
Yeah, you know.
Okay, will you vote for him, against him, or not vote at all?
I don't think I'll need to vote for him because he's so popular. I think he'll be his moves alone will keep him in the running right up to the final. And yeah, you know, I think either way, if he makes it through, all the better. I mean, it works well for me if his profile raises anyway. And if he doesn't, if he struggles, well then, you know, he's
something to
used to struggling.
He's very clever because he's been there. His last 10 fights, is it now, Bunsey, have all been world titles of one sort or the other. He's very clever to compliment you, and it seems to pat you in the head at the same time. So he'll say, well, I have a lot of respect for what he's done. He hasn't fought anyone in the top 50. I've got a lot of respect for him, what he's moved up, but actually it's only because somebody else is injured he's getting the fight. He seems to give with one hand and take with the other, which is quite clever of him, really, because he's trying to exploit your relative inexperience.
Yeah, well, that's the art of a backhanded compliment. He's very good at it. If you're a big Carl Froch fan, then you'll listen, and the bits you hear are the bits you want to hear, and it'll be him being respectful, saying that I've done well and I've earned my place. People who probably are not so keen on Carl Froch will hear the spin side of the same answer in the same question, where he says that I'm not ready and that he's going to put me asleep in a few rounds, and all he's got to do is land one right hand. I think it just makes for an exciting fight, really. You know, the guys he's been chasing, I've been talking about, he's boxed before, and at 36 we're not going to see anything different. You know, if he boxes Andre Ward, in my opinion, we're not going to see anything different. Andre Ward closed him down, nullified everything he had, and Carl Froch basically didn't have a clue. Froch technically hasn't got any better since then, so all he's got is a bit more confidence, so that fight would be the same. And the Kessler fight, you know, it sells tickets, puts bums on seats, because two guys will go in there and swing away. But this time round, you know, we'll see a bit of everything, I think.
There was definitely also the way I look at it, George, is that okay, you could have fought someone else, could have fought another Yusuf Mack style guy or find a Glenn Johnson guy. Now these are perfectly nice guys, but they're not the sort of names. Okay, Kessler works because it had to really be sold. Sky went into overdrive to sell Kessler. It wasn't easy. It was a return to pay-per-view, and it did work, but it was a hard sell, and it would have cost them hundreds of thousands to pay for the advertising that Sky gave that fight. It worked. The Andre Ward fight was a stinkeroo. Let's not mince our words. I mean, very few people stayed up in the middle of the night to watch it. Carl wasn't right. And that leaves George. And George got under. This is the thing that's sort of missing here. We're all being very polite here. Let's get out in the open. Carl Froch and Robert McCracken fully dismissed George before the Kessler fight because George went out and did some work with Kessler. It was pretty unpleasant. But in every single way, the only fight that made sense for Carl Froch in this country was a fight with George, or another fight with Kessler in Berlin, or get good money and fight Andre Ward in America. But the Americans don't want Andre Ward. He's fallen through a gap. The only fight out there, and I hope you're getting properly paid here, George, is this fight with Froch. It makes sense, and him going on, stepping out, is increasing his profile, finally, after 10 consecutive world title fights, 9 of which were hard, good fights.
You got to respect Froch for what he's done. I mean, I love him. I love going to see him. I love going to see you as well, for different reasons, but you've got to respect what he does. You can say, obviously, in the fight talk that he comes forward and he just knows how to swing, but the guy's fearless, and he hasn't dodged fights. He hasn't said, I won't fight this guy because it might damage my career. He's had defeats, and he's still box office.
Well, I think what might work against him is that he's believed that own reputation that he will fight anyone. But a few years ago, he signed up for the Super 6 competition, which meant he had to fight everyone in the Super 6, and everyone in the Super 6 was a good fighter. So there was no more pick and choosing your fights. Your fights were scheduled. You knew who's going to be boxing for the next 2.5 years, and that was it. And at the end of that, in my opinion, he done well throughout it, but he was lucky against Andre Durrell. He scraped past Glenn Johnson, and he lost to Kessler and lost to Ward. So out of 6 fights, that's not the best, 6 performances. From there, he's on the back of a loss. Fortunately, because he is a big enough name, he gets a shot at a world title and comes through and performs and gets a bout. And then since bout, he's had, in my opinion, an easy fight against Yusuf Mack, and then a familiar fight against Kessler. There's a difference between fighting a good champion who you've never experienced before, but he knew exactly what he was going to expect going into that fight.
Very good friend.
And Kessler hadn't been that active over the last few years since they'd boxed each other the first time.
George, let me ask you this. There's a time and a place for every single fight. If you look back at some of the great fights you've had at super middleweight with a Nigel Benz, when he first fought Michael Watson, I know it was at middleweight, but I'm going to lump them together. Nigel wasn't ready mentally. When he came back and fought Eubank, he wasn't ready mentally then he improved his act, as did Eubank. They got better. Do you think, George, and I'm not saying it is too early for you, but in an ideal world, we're doing an ideal case scenario, would you have liked 2 more fights? Would you have liked to have fought Carl Froch in June next year, somewhere outdoors, QPR? In an ideal world. I
honestly, ideally, this is perfect timing for me.
Why?
Because Carl is at the point now where he hasn't got that many fights left. He's on the verge of having a fight where he could lose, if he boxed at an Andre Ward, or he could fight someone else, take his eye off the ball and lose as well. He is regarded to be at his best, and that's when I want to challenge him. I want to beat him at his best, so people say, you got him when he was at the top. I've had good momentum this year. I've had put in some good performances. I've had some solid training. I haven't had injuries that sort of, start your training. This is perfect timing for me. You can tell that it's commercially right because Sky have stepped up. They want it to be pay-per-view. It's going to be at the MEN Arena, or the Phones for You Arena now in Manchester.
What's it called?
So it's got its 9th name in like 11 years. It's called the Phones for You. I don't know. You tell me.
It's one of those sponsors. It's like milk gets so much press still out of the. I was going to call it the Rumbelows Cup, the Capital One Cup. But I even said at the top. I've said twice in this show, the MEN Arena. The Evening News gets free press from that.
I think there's even been another name since the MEN Arena. Those are old days.
I'm going to call it the George Groves Arena.
Hey, St George's with us for Murray Meets. We get so much more I want to talk about, not just that fight, so much about you as well. This is our Murray Meets today. It's with George Groves. Tomorrow it's Richard Osman. Yesterday it was Kevin Bridges, and I was just talking to Barry McGuigan's coming in next Tuesday in a boxing tips of your boxing fan. Don't miss next Tuesday's Murray Meets with Barry McGuigan. We'll be back with St George very shortly. There is a worry here that George Groves is going to hear this walk-on music. He's going to leap across the table. He's going to pummel Dietmar Hamann into the wall, because this is the calling card for St George, and this is a song that I'm sure is in your training every day. It's in your ear, and you're going to hear it, as we said, at the something Arena in Manchester. Even now, just hearing this, is there a little tingle? It's on, buddy, it's on.
It's on. I've purposely avoid this song as much as possible, so I only hear it ring night. So it's drilled into me that I have to hit someone. So I hear it.
It's like a trigger.
Oh dear.
Manchurian candidate, yeah.
Ugo, maybe we shouldn't have played that. How are you handling this? Because this is the first time it's happened in your professional career. So I'm just looking through some of the tweets coming in. James is enjoying your interview at the moment, and Andrew Millington's enjoying hearing you. Matt's enjoying hearing you. Matthew says, I hope Carl Froch knocks you out. I'll be there, Team Cobra. It's the first fight you've had where the arena will be, at least half of it, are going to be against you. And how are you handling that for the first time?
Yeah, I think it could be more. You know, Carl Froch is definitely the fighter of the moment, and everyone's behind him. But you know, that's fine. I'll show him the respect that he deserves, which is that he's a world champion. He's got 2 arms and 2 legs, and that'll be it. And then on the night, it's just up to me to go out and do what I could do, and then win people over.
I mean, De Gale had people in who followed him, but I think the crowd was mostly for you. And for people who don't follow boxing, we're going to talk about this fight a little bit. And James De Gale against George Groves, one of the best fights I've watched in recent history, in terms of the animosity that was there before that fight, because you came from the same gym, right, growing up. Tell us a little bit about that, because you were the young kid, weren't you? And again, the pat in the head.
Yeah, I was like 2 years younger than De Gale, so as we was growing up, it was always, you know, he was in front of me. Then we got to the age where I could enter the senior ABAs, and we ended up boxing, and I beat him, and then that's when the animosity really started. We took separate paths as pros. He obviously went on and won an Olympic gold before then, and then we came to another meet for the British title a couple of years ago, and it got such a momentum that it ended up being main event for a pay-per-view fight, sold out the O2 Arena, and you know, that's unheard of for a British title fight with 2 guys that between them had less than 25 fights. So you know, it was brilliant for me, because you know, I had all this pressure and all this you know, things that you have to deal with usually at world title status, but I was getting it early doors at British title level with someone that I knew. So I never felt like I was challenging someone who was any better than me.
You said he wasn't even the best boxer in his own gym, and you beat him. Bonsi will correct me if I get this wrong. One judge scored 114, 114. The other 2 judges 115, 114. Actually, I had 116, 113, 112. I had a little bit better on the night.
I upset James by it, because he came on to the show I used to do on BBC London, and he said, "Well, I won, didn't I, Bunce?" I said, "No, James. You know, to be honest with you, I thought you lost by 2 rounds. I thought it was a close fight, but you lost by 2 rounds." And I'll be honest with you, talking about, he hasn't talked to me since. He hasn't really talked to me since. Now, if you'd have, same thing, George. If I'd have thought you'd have lost and you'd have come on the show like you did a couple of weeks later, I would have said, "No, I thought you were a bit lucky to get it." So, and when you talk about this Dow Youth where they both boxed, okay, this is, it's not this kind of modern gym. This is a proper old school boxing gym run by people that devoted 40 and 50 years of their life, and these 2 were in there as kids. In fact, their pictures still have if it hasn't moved upstairs yet to the old day centre, your pictures are about half an inch apart. There they are. They're both on the wall as ABA champions. This was almost incestuous. These 2 were living out of each other's pockets in many ways as juniors and then seniors in that club. So when they came to the big arena to fight, hand on heart, I didn't think it would do half the business it did, George. I was stunned when we had a proper old school rippling in the air atmosphere that night. I was stunned by that.
No, it really did capture the imagination of the boxing public and beyond. You know, you never really know what's going to kick off, and sometimes some of the press are the ones that seem to have that knowing eye. You know, when David A was matched to fight Valuev, I knew that straight away. They said this is going to be huge, and it was. And the same came round when it was me and De Gale, and no, it was lovely for me. I always knew I was going to win, and I did, and I've managed to go on and do well since. This time round, it's a guy who's much more well liked, but it's the same. I'm a heavy underdog. People think that, you know, I don't stand a chance. Obviously, I feel like I know a little bit different to that opinion, but I just can't wait to get stuck in.
They of course, because memories make a fighter a favourite. You know, you go in, you get people a great night out. They're on the 6-7 pints maybe limit there, and they enjoy the night out, and they say, "I love that fighter." Forget styles. It's all about giving them that night, and you give them one at the O2. People will say that he's too strong for you. We could point out, Stephen's pointing out Kenny Anderson. Obviously, put you a bit unsteady in your legs. It's probably fair to say you won it. Paul Smith in the first round caught you well. You won it.
Yeah, you know,
all wins.
Yeah, but
taking a punch.
The Kenny Anderson thing was quite some time ago. It was my 10th fight, and I didn't have ideal preparations for that. And yeah, you know, I got caught and had to get on with it. And
I'm not looking at excuses. I'm saying you've taken a punch. You've proven that you can take a punch.
It's important for people to try and argue their points across. You know, but you know, I don't need to like. Carl Froch has been on his backside in his pro career. Many fighters have. I think the main most important fact in my career is that I've never been beat.
Oh my goodness, Dietmar Hamann has a boxing question.
Yeah, I've just come out of the doldrums. George, a question I would like to ask you, because I've got the utmost respect for individual sportsmen, whether it's a tennis player, a table tennis player, or even more so boxers, because you've got to take a shot at times and react to it. But you've got to be prepared for what's going to happen. You know, you go in with a game plan, and it doesn't always work out the way you want it. But say, for example, how do you prepare mentally for that, knowing that within 30 seconds you could be on the floor, you've got to come back, you may have to adjust a little thing or some things. How do you prepare mentally for all these things that could happen within a split second?
I think you know, that's an instinct thing mainly. You either got it or you haven't, and you'll learn that from your first fight as a 10-year-old, you know, with a head guard on and a vest on. That sort of instinct of preparing for punches and expecting to be punched in the face is quite surreal for a lot of people that have never had it. But anyone who's boxed will, you know, be used to it. They might even enjoy it. So you know, being mentally strong for the big fights to be able to execute your game plan, that's, I think, where the sort of it separates the great world champions from the good fighters, because you have to be on song.
Yeah, when you walk into the ring come November, December, do you think, or in your head, is defeat out the equation, or do you think, well, I've got to be careful, it's a world champion, I've got to do this, got to do that, or do you think, I'm going in there, I'm going to leave the ring as winner?
I suppose everyone's different. I've never climbed through the ropes and thought that there's any possibility that I could lose. I've never had any doubt. I don't have it throughout camp, I don't have it in the dressing room, don't have it on the ring walk, and I don't have it once the fight's over and I'm waiting for my hand to be raised. I don't know if everyone else is the same, but I think that's the best attitude to have. You know, if you have that self-belief, that confidence, that, you know, it's some fighters will come across as arrogant or cocky, but it's just that self-assurance that you know that you can go out and do the business. And if you've got that, then you're bound to get the best out of yourself. If you go in there with any inkling of doubt, then you know, you at some point you can fall apart, because it's a lonely place.
I'm worried. I don't like to see two fighters who I really like. I like going to see Carl Froch. I like going to see George Groves. I got to sit on a fence. That worries me. Rob's not on the fence at all. He says, "I hope you smash Froch. He's getting too big for his boots after beating and he quotes, past his best Kessler." We're nearly done. I just want you to take me through your day. I want to get excited, because you haven't slacked off between fights for a while. You don't go down the burger van. You've finished. The wounds will heal. Whatever you get, you know, the bruises go down. You're straight back in the gym. You're 24/7. Talk me through the day. Get up. What time do you get up at?
Well, not as early as some boxers.
Don't say 11 a.m.
I roll out of bed about 1 in the afternoon. No, I'm up reasonable. I'll have my breakfast 2 hours before the first session.
Come on. And what time is that? 6 in the morning? 7?
No, Colin.
What? Come on. What is it?
How well do you operate?
9 o'clock? 9 o'clock? You get our show on about 10, yeah?
No, I'll be in the gym for about 11 o'clock.
Okay, and then 11. Come on.
be...
Come on, George.
We'll
do you chase chickens?
Just make
George?
it up. Just make it up if you have to. Right, 2 hours in the gym. What do you do in there?
Chicken's too quick, Steve.
Bit of sparring.
We doss about for a couple of hours. It takes a while.
It's the worst build up ever.
It's mental
right.
preparation.
Well, you watch Countdown at 3:15.
It's possible.
Come on.
I do watch Countdown. It takes a while. You got to get your bandages on, and you have a nice slow warm up. Maybe a cup of peppermint tea.
Do a bit of yoga.
No, but I've been meaning to start yoga.
Well, because Darren Barker does the old
Loads.
yoga and all, and he
Darren
says
swears
that's how
by it.
he got
I
up from the...
saw the piece on him doing yoga, and I broke out in a sweat watching it. I thought that's not for me.
I swear by it.
We're going to get in trouble because we're way over time. 23rd of November. It's the Saint against Carl Froch. It's been really nice to talk to you and to be honest about our concerns and our hopes and everything that goes with that. George Groves, everybody. Lovely stuff.
Thanks very much.
What a Saint!